Hi folks, good afternoon. It's a Sunday and it's been a lovely weekend. I've not touched the car for a couple of days. I've got a bit of spare time, so I thought I'd have a quick look and see if we can do a bit more work. So we did a bit of painting last time, and if also remember the vacuum check valve for the brake has been ordered, so we'll go fit that on a later video. So what I wanted to do today, just look at that lovely front end. It's gorgeous, isn't it? So what I want to do today is have a look just at the scoop or the aperture around the air intake and just see whether or not we can tidy that up. Again, blending is probably less of an issue actually inside the aperture, so I want to give it a go. We're going to clean it back and see whether or not we can just gently improve it so it passes muster on close inspection. So come and have a look and let's see if we can make a difference to the old Jag. Okay, so we're in the mouth of the cat, and it's definitely got bad breath. I was not been brushing their teeth twice a day, so again, lots of surface, sorry, get around the bumper there, lots of surface rust. So I'm going to have a go, see if we can take that back and treat where I can as well, and then leave that to act, and then have a go at just filling where perhaps appropriate, and then just giving that a bit of a once over with a bit of paint and see whether that just improves the look of the car. I guess looking underneath the scuttle, the front of the car, the bumper, yeah, we could probably do a bit of tidying up there, but I can do that at a later date. So anyway, so that's where we're starting. This is the starting point. Let's see if we can take this cat a trip to the dentist. And so I'd like to actually remove the bumper, but to be honest with you, it's going to be a bit of a faff trying to get to the bolt on the other side. So I think for now, I'll see whether or not I can just obviously do the bit of sanding down, and let's see if I can just prepare the area the best I can, and then see if we can work around it. I think otherwise that could be a whole new job trying to get access to the bolt to the other side. So that's going to be my plan, and I've just got some I think 120 grit on my orbital sander. Okay, so we've tackled a lot of that to try and get the best view. Actually, I know the bumper keeps coming into focus, but nice and smooth now. We've taken off all that loose rust, nice and smooth actually, and solid crucially. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just carry on a little bit longer, then give it a bit of a clean up before we can think about. Then I'm going to put some cure rust or some rust treatments on it, leave that for a while, and then see how we get on for a bit of primer a bit later on. Super duper. So you can see now we've just added some rust treatment on those kind of heavy areas of, I guess, surface rust. And what we're going to do is leave that now for the next hour or so, and then come back and have a look. Meanwhile, as you know, I have been on a one-man crusade to fix all these bloody gauges in the car. Temperature one sorted, oil, charge, clock. There is one that isn't working, and it's the one that is quite important too. It's the fuel gauge. Now you think, well, you know, chuck a couple of litres in, or 5-10 litres, and you kind of know you got some fuel in. I kid you not, I've run out of petrol in this car without taking it anywhere. Just when I was getting the carbs fitted and I was tinkering around for ages, revving it up, I ran out of fuel twice. So we're going to test the gauge now, and let's see whether or not we can check, or whether or not we need to go and buy yet another sender. All I seem to do is buy senders, so let's see whether or not we can get this gauge working. But what we'll do again, of course, is we'll test the gauge first, and then we'll check the sender, which I think is in the tank. So let's have a look. So in here, I'll just turn the camera around, bear with me. The car, those that are unaccustomed with the knee type, you can see that we've got a little catch here, And this catch is the one that will open. Can't you see that there? Doing it with one hand. I'm going with the other hand. It's probably better. And we can hear a nice positive click. And then we can see now that the catch has worked. And then you can pop your hand in. Again, this is an education for those that have not used a neat like before. A little catch somewhere in here. Oh, we just, here it is. Press that in. And then we got the latch open. And then we're in the back of the top. So you can see, actually, I'll give this a bit of a clean. This was pretty mouldy in here. And I don't want to bore you to death with me cleaning stuff. But yeah, so that's all been cleaned. And just one little loose rail there. I've already fixed a couple, actually. And yeah, we can see just in the car there, looking lovely. I will try, actually, and keep the camera nice and still as well. So I think the fuel tank is underneath this one here, but this comes in two parts. So initially we'll have to just lift this up with one hand if I can. Perfect. Excuse me. So close to the action now. So right, I'll take that one out. And the car's rolling forward, actually. So I'm going to put this down on the garage floor. This is totally unprofessional filming. And you can see now, actually, there's the boot floor, nice and solid. I've seen a lot of these on eBay and wherever else, and yeah, they always go in here. But actually, yeah, it looks a bit, it's a bit of a tidy up, but looks pretty good in here. Bit of a clean, wouldn't hurt. And now I'll remove this here. Perfect. And now we've got the fuel tank. Incidentally, if you're interested, I think the fuel pump is over there. That's been replaced. I did that recently. And here is the fuel sender, if I am not mistaken. And then I'll get that out of the way in a second. What we've got then is we've got the earth, and then we've got two wires. We've got one that has a W and another that says T. Now I think T stands for tank, as in Thomas, of the locomotive variety, and then this here is W, I think is warning. So I think the E-types have a fuel warning light on the dash as well, so let's not get those two mixed up. And definitely the green and black for the sender. So before we go any further, what I want to do is just make sure that we can kind of ground the tank, check the ignition, and to make sure that we've got a continuity to the gauge. So that's what I'll quickly do in a moment. So stand by to stand by. Okay folks, so I've got the keys ignition and I've turned the ignition just a little bit. The fuel gauge isn't working, so what I've done is I've just rigged up my own earth wire. Again, I've gone into this because this is clearly going to be a good contact with the body of the car, and all I need to do now, again one-handedly, is just take this wire and then pop it in here, and let's just see whether or not we get any movement on the gauge. If you can see right across there, that gauge on the far right next to the steering wheel, so we've definitely got a working fuel gauge. Right, okay, so which means out, yeah, with yet another sender. Let's see whether or not we can get the sender working before we go back onto the eBay or wherever and get another one. Okay, stand by to stand by. Right, okay, let's just disconnect these wires. The ignition is now off. Be pleased to know, yeah, probably should have disconnected the battery, but sometimes it's good to have a bit of jeopardy. I need to get a bit of a dopamine fix. Right, we'll just put these little screws on here, and actually, by looking in here anyway, I reckon we can have a quick peek at the tank and see what that's doing like. It looks in nice condition actually from the outside. But then again, these things rot from the inside out, don't they, like most cars of this era? Which reminds me, I need to get those sills done as well. Get some dinner troll or something inside the sills at some point. Amazing. So far. Now, just get that out of the way. That harness, what I'm going to do is just pull out the sender. Again, right? Oh. Now, I've only got one hand, as you know, right now. But the most obvious flaw in the sender right now is that the float and the rod is seized. It won't move at all. So I've tried to push the try to push the float on its pivot, and it won't move at all. So I imagine that could be the issue. So I'm going to see if I can gently loosen that up with a bit of WD-40 and work that through, and then come back. So we might have found our cause, but let's see. I mean, it does look a little bit tired, but it doesn't look like there's any water in the float though. So any fuel in the float. So that does bode well. So let's just see whether or not we can get that working and freed up. And then once we've done that, perhaps we can then stick it on the well, perhaps we just wire it up and check for resistance. Perhaps then just plug it into the back into the car and see whether or not we can get a reading on the fuel gauge or something to that effect. Okay, but just whilst we're here, let's have a quick peek in the tank. You probably can't see without the light, but it does look okay actually. Perhaps I'll show you again when I've got the torch available. So just bear with me and I'll give this a bit of a clean up. Okay, so after a bit of persuasion, we now can get it moving. It's moving now. Sorry, that's not the best view on the camera. I do appreciate that. But yeah, so it's now working. Whether or not it's actually working, we'll test now. So I'm going to pop you on the stand and then plug it into the multimeter, and let's see whether or not we're getting any kind of resistance, or variable resistance rather. Okay, so all good. So what I've done is I've just rigged it up. I'm not bothered with the multimeter actually. I thought, what's the point when I could test it for real? So I've rigged it up. I've just used the earth again that I used before, and I've plumbed in the right wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you over here somewhere. I don't know whether you can see this. I want you to see. Well, you tell me whether or not the gauge is working. I don't know. So that's the best way of doing this is. Hopefully you can see the gauge there. I'm hoping. Right. Okay, so now we'll just lift the float. Let's go. Is it moving? It is. Let's leave it go halfway initially. That's halfway on the pivot. Okay. All right. Let's go the full way. This is simulating a full fuel tank. Okay, so it's working, but will it go to the top or no? Will it go? Right. Okay, so it's just past halfway, isn't it? By almost 3/4. It's still going. Let's see if it continues. Oh, this is making my teeth itch. Okay, it's still going. I think, I can't tell, you're closer. Okay, so I think it's steadied now. I was just falling short, I think. But on the whole, that isn't bad, is it? Okay, so I think I've got a working sender unit. I do apologise about the video there. The camera was focusing on the knob, and also the dash, which meant it was. Your user experience was pretty cruddy, but we did see the gauge moving. Again, not super accurate, but probably accurate enough for now at least. So it's all been buttoned back up, and yep, fuel tank was lovely and clear, by the way. So it's good, decent fuel tank in there. And then it might be, I just want to check that the earth is making good contact. I'm still I'm not convinced that it's making good ground. So I'll double check that. I think the best way to do that, given there's not much fuel in the car, is perhaps just get a bit more fuel in it. So I might do that a little bit later today if I can be asked. Okay, yes, so I guess you could say one little job ticked off the list. So I think we definitely do have a full suite of serviceable gauges, which I think is cause for a cup of tea and celebrations. So back to the paintwork. You can see we're still in the dentist chair, and we've managed to primer it, which I'll show you now. I've put some prep down, some obviously mask the area, albeit when I start to put the lacquer down, I'll probably make it a bit more wide. But let me show you what I've done. There we are, so you can just see there. And that's been prime it a couple of times, rub back down, and that looks pretty tidy now for a bit of paint, I would suggest. That's the plan. And I went and got some more fuel, and yeah, the gauge moved just a little bit, so I think we probably need a new sender for whatever reason. If I do it by hand, it works outside of the tank, but as soon as it's in the tank, it's not working. So I think at some point we'll get a new sender and pop it in there, and so that keeps us on the straight and narrow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a bit of painting. I'll set you up and then try and get this boxed off over the next couple of hours. Hi there, just quick update. So I've just done the base coat, there it is. So it's looking much better, so I've let it dry. And then at some point I should just put a bit of lacquer on it, and then a couple of coats to that, and then I'm going to pop off to the gym, I think. So that's the plan. Again, as I did before with the other repair, once the lacquer's on, I shall then let it harden, obviously, and then it will be a case of 1500, 2000, 2500 wet sanding in that order, followed by some G3 cutting compound with the orbital, and hopefully that should just be suitable enough to kind of make it look very presentable. So that's it really. So so I'm going to do a bit of tinkering around. I've just cleaned the Aston actually, so it got super dusty, and so I wanted to put the cover on it, and I thought, well, I can't really put a cover on it with dust all over the car, so I've got to give that a quick clean. So I'm just killing time as I'm waiting for the paint to dry. So yeah, productive afternoon. Yes, almost beer o'clock. Well, after the gym, that is. So we're out of the dirty chair, and we've removed all the masking, and we can see now the finished result. So looks considerably better than it did earlier on. Very tidy, good finish, nice and flat. It's difficult to get the orbiter in there to really get a good shine on it, but I think given where it is in the car, it's definitely passable and a significant improvement. Yeah, just there where I was on the wet sanding, I've just took a bit of paint off, so I need to kind of sort that out. But yes, super happy. Right then, so that's a wrap. It's absolutely teaming it down here, so I need to kind of get everything away really, and yeah, work again tomorrow. The joys. But yeah, so good result really. So gonna have to get a sender unit, I think, because I think that one isn't up to much once it's actually installed back in the car. So we'll get that replaced in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, happy with the paint job. So just a little, like I said, I'm going to try and stay out of the way of the stuff that's kind of, you know, on top of the car. That's more visible, because I don't think I'm that good. I'm not good enough to kind of attempt that. But in terms of just what I'm trying to do underneath the car around there, I think that's absolutely passable, given the kind of commensurate age of the car and condition. So all good. So thanks for watching. As always, any constructive criticism or feedback or comments, please whack them down below. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much now. Bye.